Good morning again. We're doing a double show today to end our series, When Doctors Don't Listen. What have we learned? Well, I hope at least some of you who have watched this series this week have learned that you're important. You, after all, are the patient. You are the person who has to undergo the treatments, the surgeries, the procedures. And at the end of the day, you should be the one who decides what exactly you're willing to do, what exactly you want your outcome to be. We talked this morning about Kim Bowles, about the fact that because a plastic surgeon felt that a 35-year-old woman needed to have breasts, even when she said she didn't want them, he put her at risk. Her life is at risk now because she has to go through more surgery, and surgery is always risky. One caveat, addendum, I want to add to the Kim Bowles story is if you are a woman out there who is being diagnosed with breast cancer, you don't need a plastic surgeon if you choose to go flat. That's something that could have made a difference with Kim Bowles. And I have not spoken to her yet. I'm going to reach out to her and try and maybe even have her come on the show or write something for the show. But a general surgeon is the one who removes your breasts. The plastic surgeon is the one who reconstructs them. So if you don't want reconstruction, you don't need the Dr. Stephen Bernards of the world who have their own ideas of what a normal woman, a whole woman should look like. You don't need them. Just a general surgeon can take care of it for you. So remember that. Something else to beware of is that, unfortunately, even in 2018, men still rule. Whether you have a male doctor or a female doctor, it's always good to take somebody with you when you are consulting about something as important as a hysterectomy or even birth control. I have to tell you that if my husband had been in the room and heard the way that the woman who took care of me at Planned Parenthood talked about my husband, well, let me just tell you, my husband, a Marine, would not have been thrilled. How she called him a wussy and a pussy because he wouldn't get a vasectomy. And here I'm sitting there saying, I will get my tubes tied. No, no, no. Let the man take care of it. Let him get a vasectomy. If he's too afraidy cat to get, the way she talked about him, I wish and I wonder if she would have talked about him the same way if he had been in the room with me. Yeah. I bet she wouldn't have. Because my husband can be very scary when he wants to be. She would have never said that to my husband's face, but she said it to me. She was trying to degrade my husband for not getting a vasectomy. That it's somehow his fault that I've been on birth control all these years, and the birth control has side effects. And how dare he? Well, you know what? Again, we talked about this. Vasectomies don't always work. And to be very honest, and I told this woman this, even if my husband got a vasectomy, I would still use birth control because I wouldn't trust the vasectomy. I know too many people who've had oops on vasectomies. Men and women, married couples who have had arguments. They're not my kid. I had a vasectomy. Oh, yeah, it's your kid. The vasectomy didn't take. I don't trust a vasectomy. I would have trusted tubal ligation if I had been able to get it. But again, I'm a woman. I'm weird because I don't want kids. So it is important when you go to the doctor to discuss serious issues, especially surgery, to take someone with you. And sadly, in this day and age even, you should take a man. Your brother, your father, your husband, your boyfriend. You need to take a man. Just like they used to say to a woman, don't ever go buy a car unless you take a man with you. Because the car dealer guy is going to try to screw you because you're a woman. And with all the crap about Me Too and women taking power and equal pay for equal work, women are still treated differently in the most crucial of places, in their doctor's offices. We are forced to adhere to our doctor's personal beliefs, their religious beliefs, their societal beliefs, their beliefs on what women should look like or want to look like. We're still in that stage. So please, take this from this series this week. Never go to a consult for major surgery alone. Take notes, even record what is said, and you have the right to do that. You can turn on a tape recorder, you can turn your phone recorder on, you can record what is said in your doctor's office, because I'll tell you what, after surgery, if you're not happy, or God forbid you're dead, they will all of a sudden change everything. Well, they really weren't a candidate for surgery anyway. My mother, obese, a smoker, 10 cigarettes a day. Her death certificate was so not what actually killed her, it was almost hysterical funny. If it hadn't been my mother, I would have laughed. Well, she died from natural causes. Really? No, she died from DIC, which was caused by sepsis, which was caused because the hernia doctor, who had never met my mother because the doctor who met her was busy that day and sent his young assistant, didn't know a vein from an artery and messed it up, causing my mother sepsis and DIC and all kinds of issues, which killed my mother. But her death certificate says obesity and smoking. Funny thing was, nothing happened to my mother's lungs. My mother was actually, her heart was beating, her lungs were working, everything else was great. It's just that this hernia doctor killed her bowels and she ended up septic. That's what happened. And where did I find this out from? Oh no, not from any doctor that actually worked on my mother. I had a veterinarian when I told him what happened to my mother and I told him how she died. He right away knew exactly what happened when I said hernia surgery. So see, the hysterectomy didn't kill my mother, the hernia surgery did. And the hernia doctor, who had never met my mother, and by the time we realized that the doctor she had consulted with, who had actually promised to do her surgery, didn't show up, it was too late. They never gave my mother the chance to say, well, if the doctor I met with isn't doing my hernia surgery, then let's not do the hernia surgery today. It didn't need to be done. They could have just done the hysterectomy, which was done properly by a decent doctor, a good doctor, who my mother had a relationship with. But my mother wasn't given that chance. They just sent in another doctor, never knew my mother, never saw my mother, and again, young, inexperienced, and fucked up and killed my mother. My mother is dead because she wasn't asked if it was okay for a doctor she had never met to remove her very large abdominal hernia that was attached to her bowel. Never asked. She didn't vet the doctor that operated on her. She didn't get to research her credentials. She never heard of the woman. And by the way, the doctor who performed the hysterectomy on my mother showed up at the funeral, cried with my family. The hernia doctor never saw her, never heard from her again. I Googled her recently. Apparently she doesn't exist. And I know I didn't make her up. I'll never forget her name. Dr. Mazurka. So, don't be naive. Don't be naive when you go to the doctor. Don't assume that they have your best interest at heart, because as I have shown you this week, as good as most doctors can be, they still come in with their own personal attitudes, their egos, and their personal beliefs. At 25 years old, I was so stupid. I mean, I thought the worst thing that would happen if I got pregnant was I'd have to raise a kid on my own. Or, God forbid, live with my mother, like I had to grow up living with my mother and grandmother. I never knew at 25 that a woman could die, but I almost died from an ectopic pregnancy because I had a bad reaction to anesthesia. The ectopic pregnancy almost killed me because the original doctor I went to didn't know what it looked like and said it was a miscarriage. And by the way, when I tried to sue him, the new OBGYN wouldn't testify. He wouldn't back me up because they all stand by each other. But at 25, I had no idea that actually in America, and I know this now from research, pregnancy kills a lot of women in this country. And yet we still have doctors who insist on protecting a woman's fertility even into her mid-40s, where it is the most dangerous for a woman to be pregnant and carry a child to term, where it is most likely that the child will be born with some kind of horrific birth defect or disability that will destroy the parents' lives as they know it, turn their lives upside down. And yet they still go for it because of their personal beliefs. So please don't be naive. When I go to a new doctor now, well, not now, but when I was still able to conceive a child, I always asked, will you do an abortion? Will you send me to a place where I can get an abortion if I get pregnant? And if the doctor said no, he was gone, and I went somewhere else. You need to ask questions. You need to be very clear what you expect of your care, because it's your care, it's your body, it's your life. And these doctors who make decisions based on their perceived opinions, their perception of what a woman should want, what a woman should be, what a woman should be able to do, and to put a woman's life in danger to make sure she can still do it? I mean, come on. Do you think Kim Bowles, when she's fighting breast cancer with 2 small children that she wants to live to see grow up and graduate school and get married, do you think she cares if she can wear a bikini on the beach? She doesn't. All Kim Bowles wanted to do was beat cancer. She did not want to spend 2 years getting surgeries to fix what Dr. Bernard did to her against her wishes. So make sure that you are your own best advocate. Make sure you are clear with what you expect, what you want from your doctor or your surgeon. And if you feel even the least bit that this man or woman is not listening to you, take the time and go somewhere else. Because it could save your life. It could save your life. These doctors are putting women at risk for dying when they don't listen. When they don't listen. I have asked, and I have not heard yet, I haven't read all the comments, but I hope someone in the medical field will respond to these shows. Will explain to me why a woman who is battling breast cancer now has to have multiple surgeries she never wanted. That a woman who never wants to be pregnant has to be on prescription birth control that has all kinds of horrific side effects, including now blindness from Depo-Provera, a pseudotumor, when all that needed to be done was a 25-minute procedure as an outpatient to tie my tubes. Why a woman who says, I'm done having kids, I have a bad uterus, take everything out while you're out there, why they end up with their ovaries still intact, at risk for ovarian cancer, or vice versa. The ovaries come out, the uterus stays. Because of this outrageous preconceived fear of menopause, which is not cancer and is not life-threatening. I would like to know why women in particular are the ones who are never listened to by female and male doctors alike. What is it about us that we don't have the right to choose for ourselves what happens in our own bodies, how we want to look, regardless of how you think we should look? Whether we want to use our reproductive organs or not use them. Isn't that supposed to be our choice? I thought so. The problem is, there are women out there right now, like my mother, who are dead. They're dead because a doctor didn't listen. They are mutilated and scarred to the point where they can't look in their mirror every day without future surgeries, like Kim Bowles, because a doctor didn't listen. Please, don't be the next one. Why I did this show this week was to educate you all, to hopefully make sure that none of my viewers, at least, are ever in this situation. If a doctor won't listen, you make them listen. You know me, I'm political Paula. If I have something to say to someone, they're going to listen to me. And I want all of you out there to make sure that they listen to you too. Have a great weekend, everybody. Political Paula is out.